paying attention at positive times. We do this much more easily, don't you think? Just thinking about yourself, I know. You don't have to think about it, you just do it because you just feel so good about what this child is doing. And there are two ways, again, you can pay attention. You can pay attention verbally, or you can pay attention non-verbally. And remember that non-verbal attention is really very powerful. I know my grandmother used to pay a lot of attention to me and give me a lot of praise for positive things. But even when I was little, I somehow put a wall between myself and my grandmother because it seemed like she always was praising me so much for good things that after a while I got a little suspicious, like, she just wants me to do this. It was kind of a feeling of being manipulated. I see a few people laughing, and that maybe that you experienced that too as children. And that sometimes does happen. Nonverbal praise is much more accepted. And nonverbal is looking at somebody and smiling, just giving them a little pat on the shoulder. Not that you can't, of course, give verbal praise. Of course, that's important. And the verbal kind of praise, there's two kinds of verbal praise. One of them is evaluating praise. And that's usually what we give to our kids, because that's what we were given and it's easy to give. Evaluating praise is when I make a judgment about what the child has done. Like, it's good. It's really beautiful. The picture is really beautiful. That's my judgment, right? The behavior's been really good. You've been really good this week. I can't help me think of some more evaluating words. Beautiful, good, best. Good job. This is the best class. This is the best class I've ever had in this school, or a teacher might say that. Good job. And the interesting thing about that kind of praise is that some children can't accept it. They just can't accept it. Now, if a child has all those, remember the staircase of needs, if a child has all those steps very firm and strong, feels really good about himself, they can accept it. Because that's true. There's no arguing with it. Yep, I am a good person, and I do beautiful pictures, and they feel very good about it. But for the child who doesn't feel really good about it, and isn't convinced that they're a good person, they tend to reject it. Like a Wonder Woman, fending off bullets with her bracelets. Let me give you some examples.
Or a good boy, or
yeah, and a child can accept good boy or good job if they feel they're a good boy or good job. But if you sense that your child or a child you're working with has low self-esteem, and sometimes you'll notice behavior starts to get worse. Let me give you an example of a behavior that got worse when a child got a lot of evaluating praise. This was a 5th grade boy. I was an elementary school counselor. This boy came from a home where he didn't have a lot of his needs met, and we worked really hard on it when he came to school. And his behavior did improve. Teacher tried to make him feel he belonged and that he was cared for, that he was a competent person. And the kid had been fighting, just hitting kids and starting fights all the time on the playground. Well, the whole week went by and there were no fights, none. And so the teacher was delighted. So he said, let's go down and see Mrs. Nordling in her office, and we'll tell her what a great job you've done this week. So they came down to the office, and the boy sat in my I had a chair with rollers on it, kind of a secretarial chair. It was a little tiny room. And the kids liked to sit in that chair, so he sat in the chair. And the teacher started saying, Jim has had a wonderful week. He has been the best kid. He has been so good. He must have used 3 or 4 of these evaluating kinds of things. And Jim started to move, and that chair was pretty soon, he was going back and forth, practically hitting the walls of this, and we were watching him go like a tennis match, and mercifully the bell rang. And they left. And after school, I was down in the faculty room having a cup of coffee, and this teacher walked in and said, do you know what that kid did? I give up on that kid. Do you know what that kid did the minute I let him, he walked in the door ahead of me into the classroom when the bell rang, and first kid he saw, he doubled up his fist and whacked him, gave him a bloody nose. Now, who can figure, he said. Well, it dawned on me what was going on. What was going on was this kid was convinced in his inner core that he was not a worthy person, he was not a good person, he was not a wonderful person, and he couldn't accept it. And there's that, kids, we have that inner integrity. Kids especially do, I think, because they haven't got it all confused and covered over yet. And somehow it has to be honest. It didn't seem honest to him to accept it.